Hi everyone, welcome to Reading the Game, where we don't just focus on the basic things football podcasts focus on, but also on tactics, mental health, business, and most prominently, intelligence while playing. I'm your host Ethan Reichert, and today I'm joined once again by Peter Reichert, who has 25 years of coaching experience and a UEFA B license. Today will be a little bit different in that Peter will be the guest instead of the co-host. So basically, it's an interview. So how are you doing today, Peter?
Doing well.
Nice to know.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. For those that haven't watched some of our previous episodes, in particular the first episode about playing in different continents, can you give us a very brief introduction to yourself and your background as a player?
Yeah, I grew up in South America. Actually, I'm a Canadian, but moved to South America when I was about 9. And that's where I learned the game of soccer. So had a lot of experiences there. Went to university in the States, played college soccer there, and then I returned back to South America, Ecuador, to do some trying out with some pro teams there.
Nice. So what was your experience as a player trying out for these professional clubs in Ecuador?
Well, it was a little intimidating. Many times, I tried out quite a few different clubs. I wanted to, succeed, and so I just kept, kind of going from club to club, trying to find opportunities to get a tryout, to get somebody to look at me, and managed to get through the doors, a number of different times. And tryouts took on different looks in different places. I remember one time we finally managed to track down this first division pro team, and basically we watched the training session of the first team. And after they were done, the team sat down on the sideline. There was probably about 30 guys, and they're just drinking water and talking smack to each other. And the goalkeepers go out there with the goalkeeping coach, and there was, I think, probably 3 to 4 goalkeepers. Pro teams typically had quite a few guys working out. And so then you've got a gallery of guys watching this stranger who's clearly from a different continent, and there's nowhere to hide, and they're blasting balls at you, and they're making fun of their teammate if he drops a ball. And so you see somebody go, and the goalkeeping coach shoots, and the guys on the sideline are like, oh, you missed, or you dropped that, and okay, now it's your turn. So you can just imagine what you're thinking as a player going into that setting. And as I think about it, I was very confident. And you just had to be confident. And it didn't mean that you couldn't make mistakes, because there's no way that I didn't make mistakes or that a ball didn't go in. It wasn't so much about a ball going in. It was more just showing an overall unmistakable fight that they could not miss. And so, if one went in, you had to jump up, oh, you scored, did you? Give me another one. And you had to have that belief in your body language, okay, you got one, but I'm gonna get the next one.
So how did you get that fight and that confidence?
I don't know where it comes from, but part of it's the desire to succeed. And so you have to decide, am I going to succeed? Because if you want to get somewhere, you kind of have a couple choices. And you can either keep digging and fighting and show that, or you can lie down and not. And you won't succeed. There's no hope. You won't go anywhere. If the first one goes in and you drop your head, that's it. That's it right there. You just have to say, I want this. And oh yeah, that went through my legs. And these guys are laughing at me, and it's okay, let's go. I want another one. And you just have to. Because it's what is my goal? My goal is to play. And so it's not going to do me any good to show lower body language. The body language has to be, high. Oh, I made a mistake, but I don't believe that's
It defines you.
It defines me. It doesn't. If I put my head down, it's oh, I don't believe that's who I am. But if you stand strong and you like got your chest out, it's like, you look like that mistake is like an aberration. And so I don't think you have a choice. You either are going to be like that or there's no point in going forward.
Do or do not.
Yeah.
There is no try.
No, there's not. Like, it's just, if you're going to step out there, and here's the thing, like I played with a lot of young guys that have more talent than I did. And they didn't even go to that tryout. They didn't even leave the States. Like, they never did anything with their talent. And so it goes all the way to that. It's like, well, do you want it or do you not want it?
Yeah.
So, I wasn't the most talented. I wasn't the tallest. I was goalkeeper. It was just like, I'm going to do this. And you have to walk tall and feel strong, because goal goes in, and people look at you and they're gonna blame somebody. You're taking somebody's spot, somebody's friend, and it's they start yelling at you like, oh, why didn't you come for that? And you have to be like, what are you doing? Like, you have to be strong back. And so that's just part of it, just that belief that, like, no matter what they say to me, I want to be here more than they do, and I'm just gonna keep going. Different tryouts. That was one. It was just a shooting drill, and fortunately, that worked. I remember that day it went well, and I had a couple good saves, and then the guys on the sideline, they kind of get on your side, and they were like, oh, So once that happens, it's nice to get, fortunate that you get something good goes right, and you get that, then it goes good. It goes from there. Other times, it could be a week of just playing, like scrimmages. And the guys up in the stands are just watching. They just watch you play. And there's no way that I didn't make mistakes in those games. For sure I did. But you just keep going.
So what was your, besides the tenacity and self-drive that you had, was there anything else that you had in your mentality that helped you to fight for your spot at that level, or in that different, unique culture?
Well, I'm thinking about it here on the spot. That's a good question. Well, I guess there's a certain confidence in who you are as a person. Obviously, I had family that supported me. Like my dad, it was in my corner. That probably helped out. Encouraging me to pursue my dreams. So that made me feel like I could go for that. So there'd be that family support that says go for it. You can be something. So that you believe in yourself. Because I guess if you've got lots of negative messages, which has been a part, we can talk about mental health and everything like that, so you can be fighting that on a couple of fronts, mental health, but basically when it comes down to it, you're there, this is what you do, you got to believe that you can do it well, and you just got to go for it.
Yeah. Do you want to share any stories from your time in Ecuador, or you just kind of leave it ominous?
Yeah, it was a third world place, and I remember one team, I did a preseason with them, and I got sick. I had I ate something wrong, and I was puking. I couldn't eat anything, and I was I'd run. The team's running through the countryside, and I'd be stopping and puking, and I was just so weak, and just but I didn't feel like I missed any training, so I just, I didn't eat or anything like that, and I just kept training. But, yeah, I remember in that period, this penalty shootout, and I was not feeling great, so I was just sitting out. The other goalkeeper was he was getting pelted. They were just kind of having this like little mini tournament of penalties, and they were just like, these guys were just like driving the ball at him. And finally he was just like, he had kind of had enough. And he's like, Peter, come in. And I went in and kind of just started like, on the line, jumping and looking at these guys in the eye, and like just had 2 or 3 like good stops, and like, I was kind of like talking smack to them, and I started like, kind of getting into it with them, and that made a big difference. I remember the assistant coach was like, I see this. You could see that in your eye, because what are they looking for? They're looking for people that are fighters, that believe in themselves. Like they don't want you to be like a soft person. So so lots of things like that. I'll tell one more story. The first time I went and did a tryout I was 19, and these guys were men. Like, these were not like little guys. Like, these were tough men from poor socioeconomic backgrounds, and we were in this kind of like the central park of the city, and everybody had a ball, and we were just doing laps of this central park. And it was a big park, but everybody had a ball, so you're dribbling, but you had to keep an eye on your ball, because these guys they'd kick it into the street, and then you'd have to go run, get it, catch up to the group. They're just joking, they're goofing around. So you kind of had to like, guard your ball. And so you're jogging, and next thing I know, some guy comes up behind me, and he blasts this, like, the other goalkeeper, one of these guys I'm trying out with, he blasts this ball, hits me right in the butt, like hard, like with a punt, like just messing with you. I'm like, what is, and part of it's intimidation. It's like they're just goofing around, but they're like, this is my space. So I remember we were jogging, and I probably waited like 5 minutes, and I kind of worked my way to the back of the pack. And then I kind of started sneaking out from the other side, and then I just picked my ball up, and I just punted that ball and smoked him in his butt as hard as I possibly could. I belted it, and then I ran and picked up my ball, because I knew that they would he would try and like kick it into the street, and he turns around all mad, and I'm just like, I'm smiling like, oh yeah, what do you want? But looking at him in the eyes, and it's kind of like that message, like, I'm here, like, what do you want? Like, so it wasn't just all.
It's like Roy Keane's story.
No, you have to. You're right. It's like Keane looking at these young players.
There's a young player,
and he looks him in the eye.
The young player, Keane tells him off or something.
Yeah.
And he said the young player, he didn't say anything, he didn't yell anything back.
He just looked him in the eye.
He just turned back and looked him in the eye. And
like, who are you?
Yeah. And Keane said at that moment, he wanted my respect. So.
Yeah. No, you can't. It's kind of that kind of world. You have to be strong.
Yeah. Transitioning over to your university playing experience, can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, everybody, university it's a neat time, and it can go different ways for different people. Sometimes you hit the sweet spot with playing time and coming in at the right time with positions, and I did not hit it with the sweet spot. So I came in a year right behind an All-American, and so that's just how it goes. Like, so this guy came in. If we'd have flipped roles and I came in the year before him, it's like you're the starter with seniority and you play. I would have, probably won a lot of the awards that he won. So I'm behind him, and I had to fight with him for playing time, and that's so that's just how it was. And so my playing time was a lot less than what I would have wanted it to be. So I had to learn, kind of some different skills. And truthfully, he taught me a lot. So I learned a lot from him. We had to learn how to compete in training, and so that was, the mentality thing there. And the same thing applied. The mentality was the same. They wanted warriors. They didn't want people moaning and whining. They want people that are going to fight.
So how did you conduct yourself as a role player within that team?
Well, again, like, I didn't back down. You can't be a jerk That's first of all. Like, you want to be a positive warrior on the team. So that means you got to train really hard, but within the bounds of like what's expected, and not cross boundaries. But you have to go hard. They want you to go hard, but we all know there's those players that go like chippy or like they talk too much. And if you're one of those guys, then you're gonna rub the wrong way with people, and that's not gonna help you, because it's just like a lot of things in life. Like, you have a goal, you want to get somewhere, you need people to like you. You need people to respect you and like you and want to play with you and want to work with you. And so you can't go in and making enemies, but you got to earn their respect. So the way to do that is to be very strong, be very competitive, be very hard. Because if I would have gone easy in training, because not playing on the weekend, the guys with seniority, they would have been mad at me, because they're having competitive games in training. They want to win. And so actually it was the opposite. I remember we had a star center forward, and he was dogging it in this little box-to-box game with goals, and I did something wrong, and he's kind of mumbling. Our team got lost and we got kicked out, and he's kind of mumbling under his breath at some pass I made to him or something like that, and he walked off mumbling. And I was a first-year rookie, and I walked over to him and started yelling at him, like, "What's wrong with you? Like, you guys were like, dogging on defense, like, you think this is my fault?" And I was like, "No way!" Like, I didn't give, I didn't back down at all. Totally earned the respect of a lot of people, including him. Now, I didn't cross lines. I wasn't disrespectful, but I showed some fight. Showed I wanted to win. Showed I wouldn't back down. Showed I meant business every day, and that's I think that's your only choice.
Yeah, and as you were in the university setting as a player, you soon after went to the University of Saskatchewan to start coaching. Could you tell me a bit about that experience of getting into coaching?
Yeah, well, when things kind of dried up in South America, I heard about an opening in Saskatchewan, University of Saskatchewan, and put it in a resume. And it's funny, I went back there, and a lot of guys that I had played with, because I had been back to Saskatchewan a couple times, just and played on a provincial team here or there. They knew me, but many of them hadn't gone anywhere. And so here I was, someone that was very similar to them in many respects, but I had just gone somewhere. And so that kind of put me ahead. And so it was like I had gone to South America, I had gone. And so that kind of got me the job. And the fact that I had, kind of had that, experience among pro teams. And so that's how I got in. And actually my college coach, strong reference, despite the fact that, for many years I was just kind of a substitute, till my senior year when I was captain. But, strong recommendation from him.
And I've heard a little bit about your struggles in your first year, adjusting to the new, it's your first year coaching. Could you tell me a bit about how you developed yourself as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, playing is not coaching. And, it depends a lot where you start. If you have expectations as a player that players are going to be able to do the things that you naturally can do, it depends a lot on the level. Like, I guess if you're Pep Guardiola and they throw you in with Barca, those players can probably do the things pretty easily. But most of the rest of us have to start somewhere lower. And typically you get to a place where these players cannot do the things naturally that I think they should be able to do. And you have to find a way to teach them. And that doesn't just happen. Like, you have to create ways and language and a sequence of teaching in order to teach people about the game. And when you're a player, some of that's natural. So how in the world would you have even thought about some of this stuff? You would never have thought about that stuff because it just probably came naturally. And many of the teams that you're on, depending on how their training was, like, may not even touch some of that stuff if you're playing at a high level. Now you're coaching at a lower level, and you've got to teach someone to, do something, timing, hold the ball till the defender comes, and then lay it out, little things like that might seem so easy that a player at a lower level doesn't do. And so you have to take and break that down into ways. And so it was a long process, but I was a thinking player, and could think about things, could see the game kind of from that lens of being a thoughtful person. And so basically thinking about how the game needed to be broken down, and kind of coaching not just at university, but then I started coaching other teams on the side, like a lot of other little teams, and doing guest coaching. And I spent a number of years just coaching a lot and learning a lot, watching videos, watching other coaches, seeing how they did it, and just basically learning to coach.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I know you've told me this, and I know this audience knows that you have a very passionate aversion to man marking. Could you tell us a bit about the story of how you transitioned to playing zone with your university team?
Yeah, I don't know. All my life I've hated man-to-man. I hated it when I played high school basketball and man-to-man. I just hate it. I don't know if that's because I'm lazy, but basically I just had this inner realization that when I was chasing a guy around, I could not be proactive defensively as I could if I could see the ball, passing lanes, this kind of thing. So I've always kind of had this feeling. And what happened is the team I was coaching, really player for player was not as strong as the other teams. There was no way. So if you match up player for player across the field with teams that are stronger than you individually, and this was, we're in an era now where everybody's playing zone. But in that era, that was not the case. And, we know we've been talking about Germany and Klopp, and like the nation of Germany that was the World Cup winner in 1990, was Germany. And they had a sweeper and man marking, and Klopp used to say, like if my man ran to the bathroom, I was supposed to follow him. And that was how we played. That was my university team played like that. So I realized that we could not match up man for man. Couldn't do it. And so it was just crystal clear. We weren't athletic enough. We weren't, didn't have the fitness, and we would lose always if we were 1v1 everywhere. So my goal was just, I lucked into running across Arrigo Sacchi's classic zone VHS tape at the time. That was, if you know what that is, pre-DVDs. But it resonated because I was a zone thinker. And so, the players, they did not know what to do at first. Like, I'm just going to let this player go. Like, I let this player go. Like, just to let pass people on when they were used to chasing players was really, really hard. And, but to me, that allowed me to get 2-3 players around a ball, and it was always 2v1, leaving the weak side free, making the field small. And it was a huge tactical advantage. It worked real well.
And you've had many successes with it, one of which I know being at Nationals. You want to tell us a little bit about a game, I think it was against Ontario?
Yeah, we had, when I tied them, maybe that was that game, yeah. Yeah, we taking Saskatchewan, it was an under-17 team, to provincial nationals, playing the under-17s from Ontario. And, part of the team was, half the team was probably from a club team I was coaching at the time. And to work with a group over a period of time and to drill them into like zonal defending, and we were already starting to like get into like have the forwards like not exactly shadow cover, but basically block off the defensive midfielder. And we had a great game. I think we lost 1-0 long shot off the crossbar, came down, and they tapped it in from close range. That was the only goal. And the coach from the other team at the end of the game marches over, and he's just like, "That's a well coached team." And see, that was one game, but I coach zone at a club level across all ages. So we started the zone that I was working with, kind of implemented this idea of having a back four across all the teams. So then I would work with like under 12 girls, under 12 boys, Division 1 and 2, all the way up to the under 18s, and we put zone in through all those things. And so if we could teach, the under 12 girls team to play with a flat back four or zone back four, all the way up. And so if a player with the right back from the under 12 Division 1 girls team needed to move up and play for the under 14 Division 2 girls team because someone was hurt, she could play right back in the system. And so basically I was doing this enough, and you develop an eye for where the errors are and how to coach it, what the sequence is.
Yeah, it's interesting. Thank you so much for sharing this with me today. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys have enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to follow us on Instagram. We'll be able to notify you when an episode comes out. If you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, you can check out our website in the link below, which contains notes from these episodes and extra articles. Thanks for listening to Reading Game, and have a fantabulous day.